Hello, how are you? This is David from Outer Books, and here we have a great uh, company, a great surprise, which is basically the presentation of the new book, The Pocket Guide to the Mammals of Costa Rica. Here we have uh, these couple of guts that wrote this book. We really needed a lot, and then we're gonna talk about it. Basically. We started this activity today, which is a fair. And in this fair, we wanted to introduce this book as the main attraction of the fair, right? This is going to be amazing because we're going to know a lot of things from the background, right, of how uh, this book was produced, which is something that has not been done before them. I'm glad that Fiona and Gianfranco allowed me to work on this. So first of all, we're gonna talk about the authors, right? And them. I want to introduce you to Fiona. Hello, Fiona. How are you doing?
Hi, David. I'm doing fine, thank you. I'm in Canada right now, but
Amazing.
hello.
I'm glad you are here with us, just sharing about the book. First of all, and before I introduce Gianfranco, I want you to talk to us about you, about your love of mammals in nature and stuff. How did it start?
Well, I've always been interested in nature since I was a very small child, and specifically mammals. Although I like everything that moves or crawls or swims, I like it all. But for some reason, I like the mammals the most because I think they're a little bit difficult to learn about and study. A lot of them are nocturnal, and they're secretive. It just appealed to me in that way. So I've always been interested in mammals. And when I was, it's quite a long time ago now, but in the early 80s, I was in Venezuela and I was actually studying birds and in between projects. But I had just started painting wildlife, and I met John Eisenberg, who's a well-known biologist at the time working on mammals. And he saw some of my illustrations, and he asked me if I would like to illustrate his book on neotropical mammals. And to begin with, I was given a drugged howler monkey that they managed to get out of a tree with a tranquilizer dart and catch in a hammock. It was very fun. And then I took the howler monkey back to my room, and that was the first mammal that I ever sketched from life. And then we went out at night and caught bats. And I didn't know anything about bats, but I was amazed that they were so interesting and so beautiful. And I was holding them in my hand, and I said to the professor, "Why is it squeaking?" And he said, "Well, you're just holding it a bit too hard. Be more gentle." I said, "Okay, all right." So I stayed up all night drawing bats and became very interested in small mammals. So that was how I got started.
That's incredible. So the amount of love you have like for science is basically the same for art, right? So for people to know, Fiona just draw everything here, right? She's got all the draws for these books, which is great. I mean, most of the books they are separate. People will, well, an artist will draw the stuff, I mean, the animals and stuff, and there will be a scientist in the background just writing everything related. But this time Fiona basically was able to do both, right, with Gianfranco's help.
Yes, that's true. I've sort of flip flopped between art and science in all my life. I did a degree in science and was doing biology, but I like field guides really suit me because there's science and art, and you can kind of do both without having to get too overwhelmed. Um, yeah, I could show you the one of the original paintings that's in the book. Um, there it is. This is the deer. So this is the size it would be painted at. And then this is what it looks like in the book. And that's me in the back.
Wow, that's an
So
amazing comparison.
Yeah, they never get the color exactly right, but it's not too bad. I'm actually very happy with the quality of this book that was printed up. It's really good. I've done various books, and usually you think, oh, they didn't get it right, you know. So it's quite nice. I am pretty happy with the quality that came out here. Yeah.
That's that's great. And as a fact, there is no draw or there is no picture to show us for real what is happening or how an animal is. There is nothing like looking at it straight, right? And actually, it's different to see an animal through a binocular. It is there is nothing like having the animal so close,
Yeah.
as you
Yeah. That's
said
true.
with the howler monkey. Now, it's great to meet you, Fiona. We're gonna keep talking about the book in a moment, and I want to introduce you, Gianfranco. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Amazing, and thank you for helping with this jewel. I mean, this is going to be literature for a lot of years for us, and it is amazing to have a book of mammals of Costa Rica coming from you both, which I mean, I still can't believe it. Sometimes I just start like reading the book and taking a look, and it's just like, wow. Gianfranco, tell us about you, your background.
So I also kind of like Fiona became interested in nature from when I was very young, and I've always loved animals and all kinds of animals, but specifically with mammals, I got very interested with bats. Really, is what kind of got me hooked on mammals. I think bats are just, just so incredible. They're like they've got superpowers. They're just amazing senses, and once I just started learning about bats, I just I couldn't stop and just kept going, and it really fascinated me, and it kind of brought me into drew me into mammals in general. I still like other things, but that's kind of what got me hooked. And with my job, I work as a night tour guide in Drake Bay, and so we have the opportunity to observe many of the mammals that are in our book. So it's been it's been wonderful to be able to work with Fiona and to finally have this book out.
Tell us, please, how did it happen? How did you meet Fiona?
I met Fiona actually first on social media, and then she was here in Drake Bay, and she went on our night tour, and that's how we met in person. And then we went to a workshop at her place on the other side of the Osa Peninsula, which is beautiful, Sylvan Falls. And yeah, we just got along really well. And in 2020, she was working on this mammals book, and I think because of all the COVID madness, she was a little bit not as motivated, perhaps, or having trouble getting going. And so she brought me on, and it's been really amazing working with her. I don't know. I consider she's an incredible person. She's also a really good friend, and I think going through the book kind of got us through the 2020 pandemic that we were both sort of suffering with.
All right, so we can say something good came from the pandemic. Well, now let's start talking about the book a little bit more. Fiona, why Costa Rica? I mean, you have written like books like The Guide to Mammals of North America, for example, from the pictures, and of course the one we know the most, which is Central America, right? Mammals of Central America. Why Costa Rica?
Well, I've always been really fond of Costa Rica. I've spent a lot of time in Costa Rica. When I was doing the Central American Guide, I did a ton of field work there. And once my children got old enough that I didn't have to be home all the time, I bought a little property in Costa Rica, and so I spend all my winters there, and I really love it. And it just seemed like it was kind of in a need to do this book, and it was something I really wanted to do because it's fun, and it's a nice little area to study. It's fairly well known, and just seemed like a wonderful opportunity to do this. The books that exist right now are a bit out of date, so it's nice to bring something modern and complete. I don't think anything has been done that's been complete before our book that has every single species that occurs in Costa Rica.
Yeah, you're right. Most likely that's a challenge, right? To describe all mammals and rodents, most likely, right? We used to have this book, which is still great. It has a lot of natural history and all the things, but now that's also one of the questions I had. Why a pocket guide? I mean, it is a pocket guide because it's not huge. However, the information is just a summary, an excellent summary. People in the fair will be able to see the book alive, and will realize that it is amazing. I mean, we have everything. We have tracks and behavior and everything. Why a pocket guide?
Well, when we started out, it was actually going to be a small book, like a tiny format book. There was a pocket guide to reptiles and amphibians, and John McEwen from Zona Tropical told me that that was one of their best-selling books. And I thought, well, I've done all these books that sell really, really badly, and I never make any money. So I thought, why don't do a tiny book? But then the more we got into it, it's actually quite late in the progression of the book, we decided to make it bigger. And you'd have to have quite a big pocket really to put this in a pocket. It doesn't fit in most pockets, it's a little too big, but it's narrow, it's not heavy, it's not too bulky. You can carry it around with you. And, so in that way, it's like a pocket guide. I don't know if it really counts as a pocket guide, but so it went from being smallish to slightly bigger. And I wanted to have all the species in, so we did all the plates, would show like these are all the pocket gophers that occur in Central America, and the pocket gophers for a pocket guide, and those are like big fruit-eating bats, and every single bat is covered. But I think what makes the book really more interesting is that like each section starts with a spread of photos explaining the family or the subfamily or the groupings so that you can see what they look like in photos. And then there are another spread, 2 pages with some natural history information or some story that goes with that group. So not for every single species, but to learn something about the behavior or the habits. Fish-eating bats are amazing. So they've got a beautiful picture of one here catching a fish. And then after that, you get the kind of more typical field guide information with often pretty long text too. So there's a lot of information crammed in to this pocket guide. So I think it's a nice compromise between a really like huge academic book that tells you everything that's ever been done and has lots of references and stuff like that, and just a sort of straight field guide. I think we managed to get a lot of natural history and behavior into the book too.
Yes, for sure, for sure. Well, thank you for all those details. And I also wanted to ask you, Gianfranco, what about maybe the marine mammals, right? Which I was when I saw the book, I was like, when I heard about the books, I was like, well, it's a complete guide, but I don't think it's gonna have like ocean species, but it does. It does, and they are great.
Yeah, so that was one of the things that that we definitely wanted to cover, and I think in terms of both for the local people and for the tourists, that come to this country, that's a huge draw. A lot of people, especially here on the Osa Peninsula, whale watching is so popular with visitors, and we really wanted to include the possibilities of what you could see, but also like Fiona said before, try to cram in as much natural history and behavior and just interesting facts about these animals that that perhaps aren't as well known. I really love um, the photo about the sperm whales, and how they there's a little section about how the young get their milk. I mean, it's just it's an amazing fact about these animals, and then as Fiona said, by including some photography of their behavior, it really brings them to life. And then, with her art, it's amazing because you can look at the descriptions and then compare it to the scientific illustrations, and you can really, literally, go take this book and look at different bats and look at the details and compare it to her art and to the descriptions, and you can actually identify very, very similar species. So it's really good to actually be out in the field, and and the size of it too. You can actually take it out in the field and use it there. So that's kind of what we tried to do.
For sure. And for people to know, the book is pretty affordable. I mean, it's not a really expensive book at all. It's a book we can afford, and for biology students and natural guides and stuff, they can get it, of course, here in other books. Now, this this guide is so valuable for us, but most of the people, I manage to deal with them when they ask me about the language of the book. And this book is in English, which is amazing, right? Most of the people here we speak English, right? We're bilingual, but many people have asked me why just English. Then, is there any plan for you to translate our stuff?
Yeah, actually, we're working on that now, and hopefully, in the next couple of years, we'll have a Spanish version. It would have been nice to do it in both languages, but again, that's just going to make the book a lot bigger, and we were trying to keep it to a manageable size. But hopefully, within the next year or two, we'll have a Spanish version out for sure.
I know many people will love that detail, and some of the new books that have just came to the market now, like the snakes one and the birds one. They have seen the light in English. I'm sorry, in Spanish after years of having just English literature. So we really appreciate all your effort at this point. Is there anything else that you want to add, like for the book? Any kind of fun fact or something that you lived in the moment? How long did it take, by the way?
Well, it took us
Um,
about a year to write and about a year to get published, I guess, something like that. No, we finished. I think we wrote it really quite quickly, and then there was some editing happening after that because we didn't start until the fall of 2020. 2020, right? Is that right, Jean?
yeah, yeah, I think we started like end of August of 2020.
Oh wow, that's pretty quick for the quality of the material. That's great. Well, and you, Fiona, had the most of the draws, or I believe all of the draws, right?
No, I had to do some. I did some specifically for this guide, quite a few. Yeah, yeah, to
How,
fill
how,
in.
how long does it take for you to make a draw?
It really depends. The bats and rodents. I usually draw them directly from life, so I catch them and have them in a little plastic container, and then I don't have very long before I have to let them go or something. So about 3 hours or something like that. But the dolphins and whales, I can't fit them into my plastic containers. So, it's a different process and it can take longer. Sometimes it takes a long time just setting up the page. I like the pages to be quite balanced. It's very important to me that the pages are attractive. So, like there's no big gaps so I often sketch out the whole page before doing a painting, and then so that whole process can be a while, not just the individual ones. So some of these were from other books, and some are new for this book. Yeah.
That's something that most of us still don't believe it, but we already have it materialized in here. Now, is there any message you want to give to all Costa Ricans that love mammals in here?
you answer, John.
I guess, we have a lot of very charismatic mammals that everybody knows, the monkeys and the whales and stuff. But I would say, try to learn about the small ones, the less known ones, and sometimes those are the most fascinating ones, and the ones that really might captivate your attention. So, and with this book, you can dig into the secret life of all these creatures that are sometimes hard to find, and that scientists still struggle to understand. So, yeah, I hope people can get that out of the book.
Thank you for that, Fiona. Any message for all Costa Ricans which are going to enjoy this book a lot?
Well, I hope that the increase in knowledge of the incredible diversity that exists in Costa Rica, and that the species range from tiny to huge and incredibly abundant, and that will help in the conservation. Costa Rica is a wonderful country for conserving land and setting land aside, and I'd really like to think that our book might help with that, with some of the issues that some of the reserves have, and, getting people to slow down when they're driving on highways so they don't run everything over. And, the hunters understand that there's a reason to not eliminate everything. And even the rats and mice and bats that people think, ew, that they're actually very interesting animals that deserve a chance as well. So if we can help educate and then conserve these animals, that would be wonderful.
Thank you. That's also part of the goal of Outer Books Costa Rica. We want to bring people all this amazing information and encourage them to keep learning. All right. It doesn't matter if you're a scientist. It doesn't matter if you're just amateur or just enjoy nature, or you're kind of retired and want to learn how a mammal is called and where the name it comes from, and all that things. You can find all that in our books. Right, we have here our website. I'm going to leave you here in the comments also Gianfranco's and Fiona's contact email for you to reach them if you have any kind of question, concern, or even information. Sometimes people have like interesting pieces of information which is so valuable for natural history. And again, we all really appreciate this huge um, uh, help of nature literature here in Costa Rica. Uh, thank you very much, Fiona. Thank you very much, Gianfranco. And I hope you all too keep enjoying nature, learning, and keep getting your books from other books.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, David.
Nice to meet you. Bye.
Bye.